Hi guys, David Jokes from Nanaimo, British Columbia, and I just want to take an opportunity to answer a few questions that were posed to me, and for me this is the best medium in which to get them out. First question was around branched chain amino acids, and we're looking at valine, isoleucine, and leucine, these three primary amino acids, which a lot of us use to actually protect muscle tissue. These three amino acids provide about 33% of the nitrogen necessary to keep the body in a really anabolic state, meaning a state where the body easily and naturally puts on muscle tissue, and it's encouraged to do that in this state. So when we train hard, of course, our blood sugar levels drop, so we run out of glucose, the body starts going after protein, and we want our training to support muscle development. So this is really the rationalization of using branched chain amino acids. Here's my problem. Where do we source them from? Meaning that where do the amino acids come from? And unfortunately, the three areas that they came from what I've seen so far, and what I've been able to unearth, is corn, soya, and duck feathers. Well, my duck feathers, I'd rather have them in a pillow, not in a supplemental form. And again, when you look at the soya and corn, again, the GMO-based products, I'd rather stay away from them as well. Now, just because the amino acids may be accurate, that yes, they are, it is valine, it is isoleucine and leucine, but the problem is that genetically, I'm not sure how my body's going to respond to it. And I'd rather have duck meat than duck feathers. And again, yes, it's the same amino acid, but again, I'm just a little concerned about the research that was done at it, and have we taken duck feather amino acids, tested it with human cell cultures to determine whether the body is going to accept it? Does it encourage really good good muscular development, and does it provide enough nitrogen for the body? Nobody can answer those questions, so I'm out. Right? So I don't use them at all. I don't think I ever have, really. So my supplemental form of branched chain amino acids is using Isopro. I simply use Isopro, shaking them in water. I may put a bit some energetics or the electrolyte mix to it, and I'll set that through my training. Of course, you have to shake it up quite a bit to keep it more of a liquid form, because it'll tend to clump up a little bit. But I use this beautiful protein created by Isogenics, this undenatured whey, and just the straight protein as my form of branched chain amino acids, because it's a protein, and proteins are made up of branched chain amino acids, right? So why not just use that instead, rather than take a chance with duck feathers, corn, and soya? So, for the most part, for me, I'm out on branched chain amino acids. My opinion, my choice, my body. And for you, I suggest, well, have a look at it, but I would do the same unless we find a beautiful, well-sourced branched chain amino acid that'll really work. So far, I've been able to put on lean muscle tissue, and a lot of it over the last several years, using the Isogenics protein sources with no branched chain amino acids from those three primary sources, because it's showing up in all the protein I consume anyhow, my healthy diet and my healthy supplementation. The second thing I want to speak to, of course, is the wonderful world of personal training and personal trainers and this company. And what I'm getting a lot of feedback from people saying, it's just, I invited a friend over to show him the product, and he went back to his personal trainer, and his personal trainer said, stay away from it. And again, and one thing I love about trainers is, man, and I'm one, we're a passionate group. We're so excited. We really care about our clients. But the downside is that it's one of these industries that it's a pseudo profession, right? And what I mean by pseudo profession, there's a low barrier to entry. In 30 days, you can take your fitness theory, your strength training or aerobic course, and take a personal training course all within a 30-day period. And that's what I mean by low barrier to entry, that anybody who's excited, enthusiastic can really kind of crawl into the wire pretty easily and put up a shingle, say, I'm a personal trainer. So I always take our opinions with a bit of a grain of salt. Yes, there are people that have degrees in kinesiology and have done some advanced training, which I would respect their opinion. But at the end of the day, when we look at, when we're talking about this company and these products, what I really come to appreciate is the scientific research that's been done in all this whole product line, and that's been made available to us. So one of my intellectual heroes was Dr. Michael Colgan. I bought a lot of his material. I used to get his newsletters all the time, and then being able to sit down and actually, to break bread with him, having dinner, a glass of wine, and be able to pick this brilliant human, this brilliant researcher that the Canadian government, the U.S. government, the New Zealand government, athletes, high-level athletes all over the world have come to appreciate and trust this researcher's his knowledge and his incredible wisdom around the field of nutrition. He's a researcher. I'm not, right? It's just, I consider myself a well-read human being. I'm a chartered herbalist. I'm a biokinesiologist, which is a form of advanced kinesiology, advanced applied kinesiology. So I was in natural health care for 3.5 years. I'm an avid student. I'm a big fan of neurophysics. I trained under Dr. Michael Jones, who was a who was a sports medicine doctor at Berkeley University. So I've been hanging around some high intelligent people trying to pick their brain and to try to move my own understanding forward. But when we look at the world of research, and this is kind of how research works, if I see something that I find compelling and interesting that's come out as research, my job as a researcher, if that is what I'm to do, is to go through and not simply have an opinion about the outcome saying, yes, I believe it, no, I don't. That's not research, that's simply subjective opinion. Going on Google and typing in a bunch of keywords and coming up with 50,000 hits, that's not research. Reading a book saying, yes, I believe or no, I don't, that's not research. Research is actually taking the information with a critical mind saying, okay, that's an interesting conclusion, I'm not sure if I understand how they got there. So then you go through the researcher's research and try to figure out how they came to their conclusion. And then when you find the researchers, you find all their information, then you find where did they get their information off, whose research are they building their research off of, and this can go on and on. This was taught to me again by Dr. Michael Jones, again, who's been a good friend and mentor for years, and he said whenever he read a book or read a periodical, as he finished the material, he went back and looked at all the references, and then he read the references. He went to the references of the research to understand how they came to this conclusion, because unless you understand the thought process right from the very beginning, you can't come up with a really strong opinion about the end result, right? It doesn't work. It's strictly an opinion, and it's unfounded. So the personal training industry, again, it's my industry, and I'm a huge fan and a huge critic, all in the same, and I know personal trainers have been out there for a while, know exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean that we mean ill, it just means that we're a bit undereducated and we're highly opinionated because we're passionate about our clients and we want to see the best for them. So unfortunately, when it comes to nutritional information and a lot of things that come out of the fitness industry, yes, there's a lot of beautiful stuff, but again, I'm highly suspicious and highly critical because again, it's not research, it's a bunch of opinions. Being certified is not the same as being qualified, and I've taken 100 courses over the last 20 some years, and again, these are 3 or 4 day courses. Even if I spend the better part of 3 or 4 months in a program, that's still not the same as being a researcher, right? Being a researcher means you hold your opinions back until you go through the evidence and you explore it and you try to figure out how this whole idea came to be, right? So an open mind is a critical mind, which allows you to actually formulate opinions, and still it's an opinion, educated one, however, but still an opinion about the subject matter at hand. So, you know, if you're challenged with your personal trainer, go through and ask him, where did he do his research? And you'll find a kind of blank stare, and they'll, you know, again, it's a bit of an awkward conversation, but my industry, and again, I love it, and I think trainers play a massive role in moving the human condition forward, being able to support people in the fitness endeavors, but trainers really need to be a little bit more lateral in how they think and take a broader understanding and respect the limitations of our understanding. And for me, I'm certainly like that. There's a brain trust that I tap into all the time, some beautiful minds that do have PhDs, that have been in university but longer than I have been alive, and that are incredible people, but still they're wonderfully open-minded, and they're just great people to draw from. So I'm very cautious as I go through life to have hard and fast rules and opinions about things, because quite often, you know, you'll run into a point in time where you're absolutely wrong. You're on the wrong track. You started with the wrong premise and the wrong foundational concepts in which to formulate your opinion. So hopefully that makes sense and not too confusing. But you know, and at the end of the day, the evidence is there, right? And the body of evidence is really what we look for, and it's not necessarily anecdotal evidence. We can look broad scope over the planet and see the evidence that this company and the products really do actually transform human physiology. At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is take this 100 trillion cell organism and make each cell healthy. And if each cell is healthy, my organs are healthy, my immune system is strong, my bones are dense, right? My skin's going to turn out better, my brain's going to function better. Simple kind of basic rules to making this thing run. The last question really quickly is people saying, well, David, what do you eat? You know, you're a competitive bodybuilder, you're 50 years old, you're 220 pounds. How do you put on muscle at your age? Well, not very complicated. I train hard with amazing accuracy, right? So that's kind of my shtick. I'm fascinated by neurophysics and learning how to adapt the mind, to control the motor cortex of the brain, to really create some great sequences inside the body. But I'm more fascinated by the simplicity of my diet, which people think I have some sort of trick. The trick is I have 3 to 4 shakes a day, Isolene Pro, and a beautiful source of protein that I get into my system every single day, 7 days a week. It's not a one-off. And of course, I support that with clean, healthy nutrition. You know, of course, a lot of vegetables, moderate amount of fruit, a lot of protein sources, and I'm pretty consistent day in, day out with my diet. Train hard, recover fully. The other part, of course, to my dietary regime is product B, massive antioxidant. And again, the one thing we know about about training and stress is that it's an oxidative process, which means exercise can produce free radicals, so can high levels of stress. So product B is this powerful antioxidant, and I want that in my system because my life is not going to get any simpler in the next little bit. My training is not going to get any easier the next 8 months as I'm preparing for 2016 for the competitions and that point in time. So I want to make sure I stay healthy. The other product I use, of course, is the Brain Boost, created by one and only Dr. Michael Colgan, one of my academic heroes again. And because he had mentioned it, he had said a really powerful point that one of the big issues that we're dealing with within North America is not so much what's going on here, it's the rise of issues with inside the brain, brain-related disorders, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and because we can't see inside our brain pan, I want to make sure I support that as much as possible. So great, powerful antioxidants to support and look after the brain. So so I use that product as well. What else do I use here? E-shots, of course. I use now a little cautionary thing with the e-shots and the AMP product that just came out. I love the e-shots. I kind of like the AMP. It's not a bad product, but the challenge I have with the AMP is that, of course, people are training harder, right? Take an e-shot, take some AMP, you're training harder. Guess what you have to do? You have to recover better, right? You can't have the same diet that you were having before. I do exactly the same things you're doing before on a deficient diet, right? So if you're going to use e-shots, you're going to use the AMP when you're training, really focus on the period of time, at least 3 to 6 hours after your training, that you supplement well, having an ISA Pro with, let's say, with an energetics mix just after you train. An hour later, have an Isoline Pro. Then maybe 90 minutes later, have a small meal. And then 3 hours later, have another meal. Make sure you're really bringing nutrient levels back up, support the body. And of course, Ionics is my favorite. And Ionics, I have 6 to 8 ounces a day, every single day, just to support the crazy life that I lead. Hopefully that helps a little bit. I know I speak kind of fast. I'm trying to get a lot of information in a short period of time. But I just, again, remember, be open-minded, right? Don't be so narrow-minded. Be careful about your opinions. If you're not a researcher, then be careful not to speak as one. And be open-minded, be very lateral thinking and critically minded. Not to be critical, but a critical thinker actually looks at all the variables before they come up to a decision and actually open their mouth and spout out their opinion. So challenging. I know we're all very passionate about this process and getting the right information out, but take a deep breath, take your time, look at the evidence, and then follow the research.